Hello, all you D&Ders out there. We're back, and it ought to be a fun episode tonight. I'm looking forward to it. It will be great. Anybody got anything they wish to add before I set the scene?
I made it. Just barely, but I'm here.
That's the name of the game here, is we all just barely make it.
Also, look at this cute Valentine's gift that my girlfriend got me. I know it's a week early, but we won't be able to see each other next week.
Aw.
That's
What
great.
does it say? Coffee mug that says it's a coffee mug that says Potion of Restoration.
Perfect.
Ah,
Perfect.
And you're not wrong.
that is both
This is great.
nerdy
I need one of those.
This is the best thing.
It is. I mean, coffee is the best thing.
This is the best thing. Anyway,
My nerd gift is currently waiting to be sent out. I'm just like, every time I turn around, it's like one thing pops up. And it's like I never get out to the post office. There's a box and it's like, here's your birthday Christmas gift, and the next holiday coming up, right sitting there waiting to be sent out.
Well, as we start the night tonight, we've got an interesting setting. Last week, the gang dragged poor Erstal Floxen. I don't know how poor really he is. He got what he deserved, but they dragged they dragged him back to the Troll Skull Inn to have a little conversation with him. As it turned out, Erstal was rather willing, since he was pretty much of the mind that, hey, I got nothing to lose. They're all going to kill me anyway, and if this group doesn't kill me, I've got 15 people waiting outside the doors who will. So he cooperated, figuring that he was not going to live long enough to see the after effects of it. And you learned quite a few things between him and the visit from Jalester and Vajra. You discovered that Yala Gralhund, I hate these names, Yala Gralhund was basically playing every side against the middle. She was conning just about everybody, and that she was involved in a group that was trying to divert the Zentarum into a different leadership. He apparently only knew the individual as the Fist. It was how he was referred to. However, when Vajra came, she dropped a hint that the only person she'd ever known in the history of Waterdeep, and it dated way back into the history, was that ever used that fist symbol was a famous wizard known as Manchun. Manchun has appeared throughout the history of the Waterdevian coastline, has had his finger in lots of mage pies, including trying to push the mage control of Waterdeep at that time in his direction, along with everything else. He pulled a lot of stunts. Back in the deep, dark history, he actually ran or was one of the leaders of the Zentarum, for those of you who don't know the history of the old Manchun. And he lost interest in the Zentarum, decided to work on all kinds of spells and incantations and things that he might use to gain power. But in the last few decades or centuries, as things have been going on, it looks like he's regaining interest in the Zentarum as possibly another route to power. However, whoever the Manchun is that reappears each time in these incarnations is not truly the original Manchun. He is a clone or a creation or a construct. There's something else going on with him. He is not apparently a lich. He is lich. Yes, he is apparently something else that's in it. And Vajra was very disturbed to hear that he apparently has his fist, literally, into the Zentarum once again, because this is a very disturbing circumstance for her. So she lets you know that the name of Manchun has been connected to this, and she's very worried about that. You also got several other details related to what Erstal called the showman, which you have a suspicion of who that might be, and there are all kinds of name droppings going on of people who are involved in cults and all kinds of things. It looks like the dead husband of Yala was in some way involved in a cult that is rumored to be, there is no distinct ties, but is rumored to be tied to a well-known noble family in Waterdeep. So there are just webs upon webs going on in this story, and the team, after interviewing, decided they were going to try to hide Erstal away, and in order to possibly keep his information to themselves, and they have several other errands and things that they need to run. So they finally trot off to bed, exhausted from fights and arguments with officials and running up and down the city and so forth. They trot off very exhausted to bed, hoping they will get a full night's sleep. It is a beautiful day in Waterdeep. It is fall. It is crisp, but not terribly cold yet. It will probably be a very pleasant day. The birds should be out singing. Children should be out playing. You should be able to sleep as late as you wish. But instead, you are awakened to the sound of something outside the inn. Hopefully, it's not another explosion.
God damn it.
And so you rise, rubbing the sleep out of your eyes. Cashin, as he rises to this crashing sound, also hears something else going on. In the room next to him, you hear almost wild ranting. It is in the shepherd's voice. You can hear his feet pacing up and down in his room, and you can hear him either talking to himself or to another individual, but he appears to be going on and on about things. Exactly what would Cashin maybe hear?
He would hear the shepherd talking, but I'm pretty sure he does not understand the shepherd. I don't think he understands Celestial.
He does not.
So he would hear the shepherd talking to himself, but obviously he could not understand what he's saying.
All right, so first, before I ask the rest of you, is Cashin going to head for the stairs to go outside, or is he going to check to see what is going on in, what's his real name?
Well,
I always forget his real name, the shepherd's real name.
We could just keep calling him the shepherd.
well,
Very
I
good.
think we've actually never gotten his real name yet.
No, we
Exactly,
have
that's
not.
why. That's why I said the shepherd.
Only
Well-
Crone
Okay.
is privy to that knowledge.
And now we know more.
Cashin will, despite the curiosity with the celestial ramblings, he's going to be frustrated and go downstairs to see what all the noise is about.
And so we move over to the troll skull. And you are in your various places with you'll notice that there's some of the furniture has gotten mended. You're making progress. The inn's starting to look better. In the few days that you've been closed, a couple days you've been closed, thanks to the 3 overly officious officials, you've managed to get a few more things repaired in the process. What are the rest of you doing from your various sleeping quarters in the inn? I have currently, just for want of a way to do it, since you would want to keep an eye on him, I had Varys in the cellar keeping an eye on Erstal. I would assume you guys took turns during the night keeping a little bit of an eye on him.
Quick question then. You said that it's the next day?
Early in the morning on the next day, yes.
Meaning we have had a long rest? We
You
are now
haven't.
officially level 4.
Yes.
Official!
To everyone. That's what I wanted to make sure that we got.
I mean, we've been level 4, yeah.
Well, no, we didn't
can't.
officially get to.
Yeah, you can't get the rest of some of your abilities and things in
I
place.
can't get like my spell slots and whatnot.
That's right.
Mhm.
You are
Also,
all
I
up.
was heavily injured.
Yep, and you have your
I
new.
almost died.
Your hit points are back up. You have your full new hit points for level 4. You have everything all set. So you are ready to be all powerful. How as powerful as level 4 can be.
In response to your question, Madame DM, Relian is going to rouse himself from his sleep. He's still fully clothed. His clothing doesn't look messed up or anything. He's tugging his hood over his eyes. Again, he's rubbing the sleep out of his eyes. Cradled in his arm are the 2 still fast asleep chicks. He's getting up. He's a little sluggish. He's still feeling the burn from yesterday. He raises one hand and can feel the mana coursing through him again. Says, you forget how good almighty power feels when you're almost dead. And he begins to make his way downstairs. And as he's passing the shepherd's room, does he hear anything?
Yes. Yeah, anybody that came past the second floor stair landing area would hear this ranting and pacing going on.
And Relian
So,
does.
Yes.
That could
I do.
include Nokri as well, and possibly even Epiphany. No, Epiphany's one floor lower, so he probably wouldn't.
Well,
Little Nicky.
Yep, exactly.
Oh God.
well, time to make breakfast.
Okay, so Relian will come by and hear the pacing. Nokri will come by and hear it chattering and pacing. They probably look at each other as they meet on the stairs like, what the?
Well, from where my room is, I can look out the window and see what's going on with the noise. So that's what I'm going to do first.
Okay.
Kind of like open the window, lean out, and go.
Hey, get off my lawn!
Not even.
Dang, that's loud.
You guys are loud tonight.
I am hurting you.
Get out of my swamp.
Yeah, as
You
you
know
look.
what? I moved my microphone closer. My apologies.
You look down on the street and you see a fairly decent-sized work crew and apparently several wagons pulled up and dumped all the construction materials onto the street. And Nokri probably lifts a very irritated eye as she also notices 2 other things. One is there is a large barricade in the street which has been very carefully placed to block the entrance to the troll skull.
It's
2,
more like like the like a person who gives like a really good poker face. They're just like flat in expression.
and the second thing she noticed is that Corporal Banders is back by the steps with his arms crossed, staring at the barricade and a couple of constables, just the regular policemen, who are guarding the barricade with a very disgusted look on his face. Probably if you could see him in in infrared, there would probably be steam coming off of his helmet.
Well, I think I know what money I'm going to be using with the restoration, with the money we got back from the city. It's called Make an Entrance from the top floor to the bottom floor without having to deal with that nonsense. And I'm going to close the window and start knocking on doors going, Gentlemen, we could use each other downstairs, please.
Oh, by the
There's-
way, I didn't notice that the windows here.
Yeah,
So Cashin probably would have seen it, but
you could look
he's
out.
just gonna don't.
You would have a little more trouble seeing the construction crew from the angle where you are, but you would be able to see the barricade and the guards pretty clearly.
Well, Cashin is hungover, so he's not in a happy mood either way.
Yeah.
Varys throws open the entrance to the cellar. He is fairly bleary-eyed. He didn't get a lot of sleep last night. He stayed up late talking with Urstel and trying to get more brewing done for his raspberry mead. As of right now, if he just lets it alone to ferment, there isn't much more work to be done.
To Varys and Urstel, the sound of the crashing would have sounded like the wall above them was coming in, because the damaged area is right outside that cellar.
Varys has trident in hand. Huh?
Okay.
Thinking by that point it would have been knock here and then end up there upstairs. Okay.
Yeah, Relin is ignoring the noise. He's going straight to the kitchen and he's beginning to prepare breakfast.
Wait.
You're going to have a little trouble getting to the kitchen.
Remember, we don't have an access from the top floors to the actual inn itself directly.
You don't? Oh.
No, we don't. We have to go outside. And hold on, let me grab.
They basically, when they constructed the Troll Skull Inn, they separated the rental rooms and the official offices completely from the tavern. So you enter the upstairs from the outside.
That's poorly designed. We're going to fix that.
That's why I made the comment
Yeah.
stuff. It's like, well, I know where the money the city's giving me goes to.
Okay, so I guess I would nod to Nokri and I would try to head out and around to the kitchen to try and prepare breakfast. And then I would see all this mess.
Yep.
Yeah.
You would come up on the barricade and be staring at these two guys. The two constables who are in front of the barricade with all kinds of warning tape and what have you on it look like they are not the brightest bulbs in the box. They are just kind of standing there like, yep, this is where I got put, yep. But Corporal Banders is staring them down like he's not real pleased.
I think Cashin would be the first to arrive.
Yeah,
And-
you'll be first. I'll be behind you. It's like it kind of like we ended up showing up around the same time.
Yeah, so Cashin would just he'd have his disheveled hair, his 5 o'clock shadow, some sleep still in his eyes, and he'd just have this grimace on his face as he just looks at the corporal and then at the constables, and it's like, so how much sleep did you get last night?
Almost none at all, sir. And he reaches into a pouch with a long-suffering look and takes out the bottle of ale that he was given and hands it to Nokri. I have been instructed, ma'am, to return this to you. Apparently, if I do not, I will be hauled up on court-martial on charges of bribery.
And she'll take it back and she'll go, it'll be waiting for you inside as you come in as a patron.
Thank
And she'll
you
just,
very much. As to this, and he motions at it, please be aware I had nothing to do with it.
in my long line of work, darling, I have to say, there are some people who I would like to say have ye old stick up thy ass. And clearly this is one giant stick up one's ass. I take no offense. I take no problem with it, but I will be walking past the barricade. You may want to let them know to step aside.
Certainly. And he walks forward because technically by the city regulations he slightly outranks the constables. And he says, "Sirs, would you please allow the Lady Nokri to pass into her own establishment? Please move the barricade." The constables kind of look at him. They look at each other like they're trying to figure out if this is okay. They look at Nokre. They look back at each other. And finally, the guy nearest the entrance to the inn moves over and slowly swings the entire thing aside a bit so that you are able to just slip past. He doesn't do it real well, but he does move it just enough you can get in. "I got orders to keep it shut, ma'am. We got construction going on here and they don't want anybody injured."
I think the construction barrier can be moved just enough to allow a set of stairs to be opened and not get in anyone's way.
Yeah, that's what Corporal Banders said, but seems that Captain Statchett had a different idea. He said that they had to give the workers lots of room.
Door up above opens up, and Epiphany clambers out on all fours, wiping their eyes.
Spider crawl down the wall.
Cranes their head over the side to see the barricade. Says, "There's no room."
Well,
Epi, I told you not to eat that cat.
that sounds like he ate an owl last
Yeah.
night. in his sleep.
And then,
His head spins.
Epiphany just jumps down and takes the fall damage.
Okay, so roll 1d6 and see what you get. But yeah,
A 2.
Hey!
Hey.
You used a lot of numbers tonight.
I wish. I'm just going to look at the gentleman. Nokri's just going to shake her head. But what she is going to do is, I'm thinking I'm going to have to roll a strength check. She's going to push her way through the minor opening and open it the rest of the way so that the barricade basically touches this part of the stair.
okay. So yeah, roll me a basic strength check to see how much you can counteract what they're kind of doing. Oh yeah. Don't get her upset. You won't like her if she's upset.
And then she'll look at them and go, "I think this is more than enough room to satisfy your captain's every wishes and desires. It doesn't have to be that. I mean, it could be at an angle, but she's like, I don't think it needs to be that far over. We do have a business to run, and he has been told we do have clearance to open again."
Yes, ma'am. All right. He'll probably be coming around again. I'll send him your way. Please tell him it wasn't our fault.
I'll be happy to tell him I moved it myself. And she'll walk inside with, like, damn purpose.
Cashin is going to spitefully climb up the railing and go in like that.
Dexterity check. Dexterity check.
I think that's something I could do at my age, so I'll allow him to do it.
I wanted to see Vane leap and fail a third time.
All right, I'll just do it. I'll just do it.
Just for
I'll
style
do it
points.
for the hell of it.
Hey,
Yeah,
it's on-
acrobatics.
It's on brand.
Yeah.
It's a low. It'd be a
Yeah,
low.
but it's hopping a rail. You got it. But anyway, Relian is going to follow closely behind Noctri to get to his kitchen. But as he's passing the two guards, both he and the chicks are just giving them this low, slow glare. Like the chicks aren't even making any sound. They're just staring at these two constables.
And the two of them
Ooh,
are looking at
honestly,
the
chickens do.
barricade and at you guys and at Corporal Banders, just kind of like they don't know quite what to do. They've been overruled, but they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
And Epiphany looks at the two before following Nakri and says, "You were the ones we dreamt of last night."
Oh, that's nice, sir.
We
Have
will
a
be
good
back
day,
next
sir.
time.
Nakri will just keep looking back at Epiphany and say, "You can't blame the help for the actions of their master," and she'll just keep going inside.
Corporal Banders, for his part, takes up, with rolled eyes, takes up his stance by the stairs again.
Well, now inside, Cashin takes a look at their spectral tender, and he just raises a cup to her.
And across the mirror behind the bar is scrawled, "That was noise enough to wake the dead."
It woke me, and that's bad enough.
That was a joke, correct?
Yes.
So,
That's
what
what
exactly is going on outside?
Apparently someone has a huge stick up their ass and they just want to make our lives even more miserable. Unfortunately, two can play the polite game in that one.
Story of my life.
Well, he's messing with the wrong person, I assume.
Why is everyone in the city so petty?
Power makes people petty when they don't know how to wield it properly, and apparently that one does not really know how to wield it properly.
This is Waterdeep. Passive aggressive is our native tongue.
We had noticed, though with me it is typically aggressive.
I had noticed.
Well, that still won't stop us from getting what we need to get done, but it's going to make things a little bit more complicated given the extra set of eyes outside the door. Where is the shepherd, anyways?
He's upstairs cursing to himself.
I thought I
What?
knocked on his door. Let him not come down.
Oh, he will have to jump. This will be entertaining.
I think I've moved that barrier sufficiently.
Epiphany looks actually sad that they won't get to see the shepherd jump.
Nakri would know that he doesn't need to jump.
Do a flip.
Epiphany does too. Technically, Epiphany does too. We were both there when it happened.
Oh yeah, no, Epi would know too.
Yeah, you now know the meaning of on a wing and a prayer, so yeah.
I hope you guys are hungry, because I'm making bacon pancakes.
Making bacon pancakes?
Making bacon pancakes. Take some bacon and I'll put it in a pancake.
Bacon pancakes?
It is entertaining to observe. You should observe it.
I'm just good eating it.
Your loss.
So it looks like nobody's going to visit the shepherd. So is the shepherd going to just remain there, or is he going to come down?
He'll stay up there for a little bit.
Like I said, I did knock on the door and say, "Hey, we have to head downstairs," but I don't know if he heard her. So.
Nope, you would have just heard him yelling, or not yelling, but like loudly ranting in the language you don't understand.
Well, I mean, in the reverse of him hearing her, like, knock on the door.
Well,
And I did whisper, or not whisper, but it's in the chat for Relian, since we kind of glossed over what Relian would have heard.
well, a possible fix to this situation is as Relian is making the bacon pancakes and he's setting them out for everybody, you'll notice that Epi's has got some kind of odd viscous liquid poured over it. He's actually heading back out with a plate of bacon pancakes and actually a cup of coffee that he hands to the guard. And he's
Potion
heading
of
back up.
restoration?
Sure, yeah. But on his way out, he's handing the guard a cup of coffee and says, Here you go for your troubles. And he's heading back up towards the shepherd's room with the plate.
The guard Corporal Banders, the guard, takes it, nods, and says, "Hopefully they won't consider a cup of coffee to be a bribe," and he starts sipping at it.
Okay, so the funny thing is when we kind of heard about this, I was already debating on offering like breakfast to everyone who's working outside, but that's like the weird like hostess type person in me that's like wanting to do that. I'm like,
That would be extremely petty. You should do it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm going to move
Spitefully
Varys to at
civil.
least the stairway and the hatch opening so that he can be in the conversation.
Oh, sorry. In any case,
Shall we
Go ahead.
shall we feed the civil servants outside since they are out so very early reconstructing the street?
There's extra in the kitchen.
Thank
No
you.
liquor.
No, of course not that. Food.
Good. And he drinks some wine. Oh no. How about dark beer?
It's like 6 a.m.
breakfast beer.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it works for hobbits.
Hair of the dog,
So as
It is
Nokri is
safer
being
than the
civil,
water.
Nokri is being civil. Relian is pounding on the shepherd's door and says, "Commander Shep, breakfast!"
Stomp, 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 stomp. Door opens. What?
I'm just going to kind of half shove the goodness into his hooded face and says, "Breakfast."
Relian would see that over the shepherd's shoulder, he has moved his furniture in his room. The bed is now out kind of like in the middle of the floor to clear a large space on the wall between the windows. And hanging on the wall between the windows is a large sheet of parchment or paper with lines scrawled all over it.
That is not a magical circle I am familiar with.
Grab the plate from my face. What, Relian?
Well, Sheppy boy, just came by to, tell you breakfast has started. All of us got woken up a bit early because we got some construction outside. Sounds like the officials still haven't given up on pestering us, and kind of curious.
Slowly closing the door.
No, puts his boot into the door. So what you doing?
I am working.
Okay, so Relian is now going to attempt to slip into the room.
I am going to try. Well, no. If he's going to slip into the room, I don't make any movement to stop him. I don't exert unless I absolutely have to.
All right, so Relian is allowed to slide in with a long-suffering shepherd holding the door open. And I am going to open, just right now, I will open this sheet. I'm going to move it to the player handouts from where it is now. Let me get it back into here. Come here, you. And I'm going to, at this point, just open this sheet to Relian.
I'm interested.
Okay, so look under handouts and the sheet called...
Oh, God.
Wait, search mode under the game?
I will describe it the same way that Brett and I visualized it. Visualize the Limu Emu ad on TV with the board of all the lines and yarn and lines scrawled over it and pictures of people and articles from various places. And obviously there's some kind of connection between this all. But it appears that only the shepherd can understand what's connecting to what.
That is essentially what you see behind you, Relian.
Okay.
Only not the crazy person because he's behind you right now.
Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of familiar names up here, including some that belong to us. Would I immediately be able to pick out both mine and Epi's name?
These are all written down in common, so yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Rowan's just going to try to grab like a pen from an ink from his belt, and he's just going to like he's going to
Draw a
reach out and try to
mustache
cross
on
out
it.
I will
No,
grab
he's
his
going to
hand.
try. He's going to try to cross out his and Epi's name. And says, "No, we don't need that up here."
I grab his hand. You will not touch this board.
What is all this?
My work.
You're gonna need a bit more specific than that, because see, there's work and then there's work. Sometimes
was
there's a third work.
There was information about a cult within the nobility more than 5 years ago, and it has been brought up last night.
And you're trying to hunt them down, exterminate them, give them brownies?
The second option.
Gotcha. For what purpose?
That is for me to know.
Oh, come on, Shep. You and me are pals, right?
No.
Long pause. I do not say anything.
And anyway, your breakfast is kind of getting cold. I'm going to kind of need my wrist back.
I let go of his wrist, but I make sure that it's being moved away from the board.
Oh, fine, you party pooper. But here you go. Here's your breakfast. I'm just going to set this down. And so, just going to flat out ask two things. One, who would they kill?
I don't say anything.
Because, in my somewhat extensive experience, a person only goes after someone with this much zeal and enthusiasm when that person has lost something. So, I promise to you, as best of my abilities, what you say won't leave this room. Who'd they kill?
I would like to insight check him.
Go for it.
And I need to get my sheet back up.
Good job.
Where's insight? That's a 16. Very good at insight.
So specific.
It's not deception, exactly.
I don't know that you are deceiving or doing anything. You made pretty much a factual statement there.
Yeah, I'm trying to make him trust me, so I guess
It would
just
probably be persuasion.
Yeah, he can see through whatever you're trying to do, and he isn't necessarily buying it, I suppose.
You have your doubts, but you can tell that I'm being honest.
Yeah. I let go of his wrist and don't say anything, but I point to a name on the board and I will whisper that to you. Or I guess I'll message it to you on Discord because I don't know how to whisper.
/W.
Name.
Same way it works in World of Warcraft.
Let's see. Help me out. Oh, there it is. Never mind. All right. Very interesting. I can only imagine they were important to you.
I just turn around and look back at the board, and he sees me start eating some of the food from the plate.
Right. Well, moving away from that delicate subject, I can't help but notice mine and my little brother's name up there. How do we factor into this little play of yours?
It is amazing how almost everyone under this roof has some hand in this mess. And then he'll see me point to Nakari and Cashin's name.
Chance.
I will leave no.
chaos.
I will leave no stone. I will leave no stone unturned in this investigation.
Does he? I would suppose I wouldn't know.
And say, just for the sake of argument, if none of us turn out to be connected to your tragedy, but all of us might have a few dirty secrets here and there.
I care not for what your secrets are. If you happen to not be involved, then your name will be crossed off. And I point to Urstel Flotson's name, which is crossed off.
Oh, that's wonderful. See, I knew we were friends, Sheppy boy. He throws an arm around him.
Don't touch me.
I just keep eating. I don't acknowledge it.
Well, you know, Shepard, I'm happy you confided in me, and I promise I'll keep my word. To the best of my abilities, nothing of what we've said will pass through this room. And you know what? If you ever need some help of the magical persuasion, I'm sure I can't speak for Epi, but I'll be happy to help you. What do you say? We Hood brothers got to we Hood brothers got to stick together.
Brothers of the Hood.
I may require your assistance fairly soon.
Speaking of requiring assistance.
All right, so how about you stop obsessing over, frankly, this very, very, very weird web and come on down and socialize.
I don't acknowledge.
All right, I'll take that as a yes. I'll see you down there. And Relian begins to depart.
Very good. So he goes
as soon
on.
As he's far enough away, the door will close. But he didn't hear footsteps.
I can do that too. I'm not impressed.
All right.
So serious here, Sam. God.
You're trying to be serious with the wrong character.
You're trying to be serious with an insane magic caster who can literally do that too. You're not.
Anyway, so over breakfast and probably a cup of coffee, Varys will be sitting with. Allow me to move my token. Varys will be sitting with whoever else would choose to join him, and say, "So, the problem of getting Urstel out of here unnoticed. How are we going to do that with so many witnesses about?"
We keep to our information. He has been working with you overnight. A loan from the City of the Dead, thanks to the Shepherd. And he was assisting with your winemaking. He's been here overnight, and we're escorting him home because we have business. Didn't we want to look for a troll skull at some point? At least one that we could use as an artistic model.
I believe so.
That gives us reason to leave here and go there, at least.
Well, it is true that he, mostly out of boredom, if nothing else, was helping me overnight.
I mean, there's also that, plus I do have to find a place to final rest for Howler. I did make that promise that I would see to his final resting spot.
And then after that, we make our way out of the city?
Well, depending on how things go and how quickly we get things done, I would hope so. I figured we'd be leaving about midday. That might give me one more time to get to the Temple of... What was it? Temple of Dawn?
Inspired Hands?
House of Inspired Hands or Temple of Dawn, yes.
Yes, I have one last thing I need to check with them. Two, actually, which won't take long. I just need to get there.
Suggestion: we can find some way to have Sergeant Bender go to distract him by having him escort one of us to. Well, no, I think it was outside the city.
Well, we're all going outside the city, and that's where he's going to follow us. But since we're still operating within the city, he doesn't need to really go anyplace. Besides, the less we involve him, the better. I'd rather not have more names attached to anything we're doing.
Fair enough. Back to drinking.
do try to keep your head. This morning we'll need every wits about us, especially if the time allows. We may have to swing by a street.
All right. Leaf, put on some coffee.
Some more coffee.
More coffee, fresh coffee. See, and
Would that
I'm
not
gonna.
be
Just hear a voice on the wind.
I'm looking
There's
out.
more in the kitchen.
I'm gonna look out the first open window slash door that I can, and kind of do a head count of how many people are doing construction outside.
There are 5 actual workers, burly people, that are paying very much attention to the repairs they are doing in the street, and then there are the 2 um, constable guards and Corporal Benders. So,
Lunkheads.
yeah, so there's 5 workers, 2 constables, and Colonel Banders, 8 altogether.
Well, he got promoted quickly.
Adolf.
No, he's been a corporal all along.
He said colonel.
Did you rest well, Vein Leaper?
Yep. Right after I passed out.
I've been meaning to ask you about that. Why? What is with these names that you come up with for everyone?
That is their identification.
The
Never
heavenly
mind.
way.
You confuse me, but not altogether unsettle me anymore. You take some getting used to.
We appreciate the sentiment, Closed Mind.
Is that my name? My identification?
That is your identification, correct?
Good to know.
That may change depending on what relationship you form with him. I've noticed that he tends to do that. Frankly, I find Epiphany very fascinating as an individual, and I do look forward to learning more.
Could I have Cassian please give me a Constitution roll?
The coffee was poisoned.
It's more like for alcohol, but
Just barely manages to hold what remaining liquor is in his system.
Oh, the hangover throw-ups.
And the drinking that he's doing now.
And the drinking that he's doing now.
He needs to taper off.
At this point, I imagine Relian would burst in through this. He ate every bite!
Sorry?
I think he's talking about our missing party member.
Ah, Shepherd. I noticed also that you all call him the Shepherd. Is it a title or is it his name?
You know
He's
what? I
the
don't
grave
think
tender.
I don't think we've actually been given that name. We just know him as the Shepherd, as what Lyric was telling us before he departed and we gained a new ally.
Lyric, that is the bard that runs
Ah.
around Waterdeep, correct?
Yes,
Turned out to be a wimp.
he's not a wimp. He has a very high sense of self-preservation, as should most in his situation. I don't blame him for wanting to leave. He did get almost killed like you did.
Yeah, I will lift up my shirt to show the barely healed over scars from yesterday's battle. Wasn't a whole lot of fun.
Oh, trust me, anything combative cannot be very fun.
The second you reveal your scar, Relian is over there and he starts poking and says, "Oh, that's so cool! You're so lucky.
Ow.
I don't get scars."
Ow. Please stop.
I'm sorry, that brings up ADD trivia for Mike's mom, who when I was in the hospital one time told me that I was so lucky because I got to be in the hospital and have everybody pay attention to me.
This was my mom that said that to you?
Freaking kids.
Well, Cassian is eventually going to lay off the liquor.
Very good. So I guess you pull everybody sort of together, and you have enough time, I believe Relian and Epiphany have kind of indicated to the group that they would like to be in the City of the Dead by noon. Have they passed that on?
Yeah, we've made it clear that we're going with Erstal.
We will be accompanying, and we have always wanted to have a picnic there. We know that it is lovely.
I brought my picnic basket.
Well, prepare for your trip. I have mine to do, and unfortunately, all of mine is business.
Will you provide the beetle voles again?
So are you going two different places, two different groups, or are you all going to go to the City of the Dead and all going to go to the Temple of Inspired Hand? There is time to do both, is what I'm saying, because I mean, you got up overly early, so you are eating breakfast when
Divide
it's
and
like,
conquer.
yeah, it's before like 7, so it's whatever you want to do. There's more than enough time to go to one and then to the other.
Yeah, I figured we'd all go there to the city, and then I don't know how many wanted to go to the temple. I figured the least amount of people, the better. That's just me, because we were trying to moderately, discreetly do something and get some information.
Epiphany will volunteer to not go to the temple.
Epiphany can watch and creep out the workers.
And I guess Cashin can go back and prepare for the journey.
Yeah,
Probably sleep off the rest of the hangover.
All right, so it sounds like you are splitting up. Who's going with Nakri the temple? Anyone? All right, so we'll take Nakri on her journey.
Varys will go to the temple just so that she doesn't go alone.
Okay, and somebody is guarding the hatch, I assume, to make sure that that Erstal doesn't try to make a break for it or something.
I don't think we're particularly concerned about Ursula. He knows that we are his ticket to safety.
Us watching him was probably more a precaution just in case, but we're not. I don't think we're afraid of him bolting or anything.
No,
that's not really our concern. Like if he leaves, we don't lose anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually save some time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I thought we were all going to the City of the Dead first. I thought that was the game plan.
Yeah, well, let's just do the City of the Dead first, and then some subset of people can go to the temple.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my good is just so we're all doing something. We'll all go to the City of the Dead. We'll split up after that. Nakri and Varys will go to the temple, and the rest of us can say we're going back to the Troll Skull to prepare for the journey. We'll meet up at the gate we're leaving out of.
Right.
Because we need at least one person who's going to deal with City Guard D-bag.
Epiphany will do it.
All right, so you all are gathering together and you're bringing Erstal on this portion of the journey?
Yeah, and I imagine.
Well, we gotta wait for Shepard because he's kind of like the linchpin in getting him to the city.
Yeah, dropping Ursula off.
Yeah.
We won't have to babysit him anymore.
I think the shepherd is also bringing one of his spare cloaks for Ursula to wear.
Exactly. Yep. Where he's getting a spare robe. You guys would hear outside, "Move, or you will be moved."
And the constable just kind of shuffles over like, yep, that's what's been going on today, yep.
I really feel sorry for these guards. We're being so mean to them, but they're
one
just
threat after another.
I have a reason to be a dick, though.
And then they're going to have to move the barrier again when we all leave.
Oh no, the barrier stays the way it is.
Help, I'm being oppressed.
I'm just doing the job, sir.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Dogs up.
I'm not that,
Not the kind of orc.
I mean, not that kind of constable.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Warcraft 3 memories. Say lovey.
Anyway, so we head off.
Okay, so we are headed to It is very early. You're going to be at the City of the Dead probably 10 o'clock if you're heading off right away. That's what I'm saying. It's only like 7 o'clock in the morning because you got awakened very early.
Okay,
We could do
that freaking place. Let's do the temple first.
Yeah.
Are they gonna even be awake at this time?
There are
Somebody
temple-
will. Yeah, somebody will be.
Well, I need to talk. Well, it's a specific person.
They're mad tinkerers. They're
sure-
up at all
I'm sure they live there. Somebody can
Yeah.
get them, and we'll bring coffee.
Fair. Yeah, I'll bring the flask of coffee.
All right. So I assume Urstel is coming along just because you kind of have to at this point. Just bringing him
Well,
along in the
I
group.
was gonna say that's why we should probably do City of the Dead first. We can
first,
drop
yeah,
off
we wanna get
Ursel,
him
and
off our
then
Well-
we can-
You're going to have 2 City of the Deads, is what I'm saying. If you
What?
do,
Can we not hang out at the City of the Dead for 2 hours and just explore the gravestones?
Is the City of the Dead closed off at times?
Presumably not to you.
it is not closed off, but there are 2 things that have to be done at the City of the Dead. One of them has to be done at noon.
Yeah,
But
so
it has to be done at noon.
One of the things has to be done at
Okay.
noon.
can we not go to the City of the Dead and then wait until the appropriate time?
Okay.
Or here's a thought. Let's not leave yet. Let's just bum around the tavern for about 2
Okay.
hours, then we can leave.
I can do
Talk to
that.
Each other? You.
Wow.
So back when I was 7, I got
I'm going
this
back up to my
massive
room.
concussion.
Get back here.
Lies, Friendrellian. You were never 7.
So,
Get back down here. Oh my god.
do you want to RP out what you do for 3 hours? Or do you want to just fast forward it?
I mean,
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it 3 hours, but let's do it real time.
No, I've got an idea.
Let's not.
Let's RP a good. Let's actually RP a good talk for about 2 hours. We don't have the time to actually RP it, but how about we go down the list and each of us can actually, we'll talk, actually reveal
Yeah.
something about our character to the others.
That
There you
would
go.
probably be a good idea. Each of you can take a turn saying, you know, something I've always wanted to talk about or whatever.
well, okay. See, here's the part where I'm gonna go. Him, that Ursel guy. I don't want him anywhere near anything I have to say.
He's locked up in the cellar.
He's not locked up in the
Up
cellar.
there.
Come upstairs.
He's standing
Nope,
on the stairs, but we
I'm
can
taking,
put him.
I'm taking the broom and I'm putting them back down there.
Shoo. All right, so what are we gonna do?
City of the Dead, find out internment for our now dead employee. See if we can find, for just artistical reasons, the troll skull, if possible. I don't know. You said you weren't sure. Get him deposited off. Anybody have anything to take care of out there?
Something about a picnic.
Oh, we'll find a troll skull. I'm bringing my lucky shovel.
We're not gonna dig up in the City of the Dead, not without permission.
And I'm pretty sure they don't have trolls in there.
Racist.
But they might. Do they have shops?
Isn't it-
They had troll wars, but most of the trolls were buried outside the city. However, they do not specify whether that was the old city walls or the new city walls. So there may be some trolls buried under houses in the north end of the city.
We're not getting a skull from the City of the Dead. I've told you this numerous times now. The
Okay,
City
you
of the
never-
Dead, the City of the Dead is not a gift shop.
I'm not saying. Okay, I think we're misinterpreting the intention here. I'm not saying we're getting it like a gift shop. I just want one just to get a replication done for authenticity, and then it is returned to a proper burial.
If
It'll
we
be
want
treated with
authenticity, we can always go and kill a troll.
I mean, there's that, but who has time to go hunt one?
I'm sure that there are several curiosity shops around Waterdeep with at least imitation troll skulls.
We do not want an imitation troll skull. We want to rip the flesh from one.
Relian is just silent.
You
Where's
can
Relian?
always go back to the old Zolob shop, but I'm afraid probably it would either have purple eyes or purple teeth or something in it.
Right.
Well, hold on.
Either way,
Well, hold on. Here's an idea then. Since we've got 2 hours to kill, let's take the long way to the City of the Dead, find a shop that might have a troll skull, then head to
Or
the
we
City of
can
the Dead,
kill one.
then head to the temple.
Either works for me. I mean,
You still will have Urstel in tow, is the reason everybody's
Oh,
debating.
we can take him to one shopping trip. We'll put him on a leash.
Still, I would feel better if we could just get directly there and be done with him. Then we can take our time coming back, maybe? I don't know.
Look, okay, we're talking around in circles here because
I know, it's frustrating.
Yeah, because it doesn't solve the problem. We've got 2 hours to kill it. We've got to find a way to make an efficient use of our time. We've got to find a way to kill 2 hours. I suggested 2 things. They were both shot down.
Has it been
Well,
2
just-
hours since we started this conversation yet?
yeah, let's just
And
say
thus it was the party argued for 2 hours about what they were going to do and didn't get any of the RP out that they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want me to fast forward or do you want, how do you want to do this? This is your
Let's do
choice.
fast forward.
Let's fast forward to the City of the Dead and we can pick up the RP from there? Question mark?
Sounds good.
Okay. I'm willing to put you wherever you want to be. I just need to know where that's going to be. All right. So, yep.
Sorry. I was gonna say, as we leave with everybody in tow, including the cloaked Urstel and stuff like that, blah blah blah, going to pin up the sign, be back several hours out shopping, and just leave it at that.
Okay.
That way, in case Cranky Pants comes along, it's not like it's mysteriously why we're gone. I'm leaving a note, Ma.
And as the group of you step out onto the porch, Corporal Banders will look up at you and go, "Are you leaving the city, I hope?"
Not yet, darling. I'm sorry. We still have a few things we need to take care of before we actually do leave.
You do know I'm going to have to traipse along behind you, but trust me, I won't be involved.
We're only going as far as the City of the Dead, at least as a group, for several reasons. And then from there may be a tiny bit of splitting off, but that's, up to you which group you wish to follow.
Very good. I will dutifully follow your group to the City of the Dead. I have been informed that this is what I am to do. And he will kind of straighten up. He's been kind of slouched against the railing. He will straighten up and look a little more official. Okie doke. So, let's gather the party together and we'll take you off to the City of the Dead. Let me move the ribbon over here and let me grab his token as well. Copy it so I can put it on. Since I did not know if he was going to be with you or not. Alright, so the group of you traipse off. The one with the mask on is the disguised Urstel that is traipsing along with the group of you as you come in the northwest entrance of the City of the Dead. There are quite a number of entrances into the city, but into the area, but you traipse in. The area is extremely well manicured. There are expansive lawns and things in between gravestones and mausoleums and large areas where urns are placed and so forth. So it is very common for people to come and picnic on this area. And since it is a very fine autumn day, the the park, we will call it, is very full. There are people traipsing around everywhere. Your tokens, just FYI, are many times the size of the scale of what they would be, just so that we can see it. But there are people everywhere. There's basically no lack of individuals, so it's not strange that you would be wandering around on such a fine day. What?
Alright, well, let's complete our business here, and then do our next business. We'd probably have to leave the city by around 3 or 4 in the afternoon in order to get to the farms by dusk.
Now, are we doing this by walking or are we procuring some sort of?
I assumed you walked the distance along and came down to the thing. It probably would have taken you an hour, but it's probably now about 11:30.
Yeah, no, I think the that was more of in reply to Varys's comment about getting to the farms and how to get there.
Yeah, and
Planning on the go.
outside of, apparently, since they might have a picnic basket, outside of maybe planning on eating lunch there, it doesn't look like anything big is going to take place. The shepherd would know where the main offices are and the things that are in here, so he would be the guide for all of this to take you to where you needed to go.
Exactly.
Well, before anyone realizes it, Cashin just announces that he's going to go off somewhere.
Where are you going?
And just gonna take a stroll.
Don't go too far.
Meet back here within an hour and a half, maybe?
He just gives a wave as a reply.
Probably the most notable landmark in the City of the Dead is the statue of Agaron, who is the famous wizard who was the first open lord of Waterdeep and broke the Mages' War and so forth. There's an enormous statue that is to him in the central area of the
Fendrillian.
Yeah.
And Epiphany is like bouncing. We wish to frolic.
Oh boy.
Do you want the sparkles this time or no?
No. Yes.
Alright. So,
Epiphany just basically bolts like this direction, like like he's got the zoomies.
and as he charges forward, Roland just throws out his hands, and like a bunch of black and purple sparkles are just dancing all around him as he's enjoying himself.
Corporal Banders kind of comes in with you and just kind of looks around at the group. He's apparently going to kind of watch the gates, but he's not going to traipse all over with you.
As we get just outside of everybody's view, Epiphany immediately stops, stands up perfectly straight, and goes, "That was humiliating. We did not enjoy that. Let's go find our person."
As as Epiphany gets out of view, he just looks at the rest of the group and says, "Well, I better go make sure he doesn't, eat anything he shouldn't or scare any of the little grievers. So I'll see you guys in a bit. Don't worry, he'll be fine."
Again,
So
meet back here in like an hour or so.
We are going the correct way for the Gravediggers Hall.
Since I have no idea where exactly I'm going, I'm just going to follow you, Shepard.
And Erstal follows behind, kind of looking at times from side to side. He kept his distance as far from the corporal as he could, and kept his hood pulled down over the top of his face so that it didn't show him very well.
Oh no!
Damn it, Epi.
She would. The grieving woman that you spoke with will look at him with big eyes and go, Are you a diviner, sir?
Yes.
Oh,
Fear not.
oh
Fear
my.
not.
She puts her hand to her mouth, kind of frightened. All right, so Shepherd leads down to the Gravedigger's Hall, which is, I forget which one. That
This
one.
one.
Okay, yeah.
Scroll down a little bit past Epi and Relian.
The ground here, it's incredibly fertile. You would be surprised what the bones of dead people can do for the earth.
The Gravedigger Hall tends to the grounds here. They're the reason why it's so good, why it's so fertile.
And with that, I am going to have Cashin give me are you going to use wisdom or intelligence? Which is your higher modifier?
Wisdom.
All right. So you're going to give me a D20 roll plus your wisdom modifier.
That's it.
Yep, I'm. Okay, so apparently I didn't get the right thing saved. All right, just a second. Let me look it up in another location.
This is like so City of the Dead is now currently the outdoor strip mall in which we all get dropped off and everyone goes to separate ways
Yep.
and is like meet back in and out. Yeah. The gist of what's going on.
If anyone takes anything, I will make sure that they put it back.
I don't think that any of us here have any intention to take anything.
You don't.
I don't,
Others do.
I can't speak for some, but I know most of us are going to keep their hands to themselves, I hope.
Cashin would notice some very common herbs growing beside a building, kind of little flowered herbs. They're not unusual herbs, but he might want to pick them for his errand that he's got since he made a 16 roll on that. So if you would give me a 2D, first give me a D4 roll. Yeah, first give me a D4 roll. Okay, you're going to find one of them, and now give me a 2d6 roll. You find some wild sage root, one of them, which is a very common flowered thing. Apparently, they were using it as kind of a decorative plant alongside one of the buildings, and you can easily pick some of the flowers or leaves without pulling up the whole plant. I assume he would know enough not to pull up the entire plant.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you have one wild sage root. And so, what is Shepherd doing at the Gravesdigger Guild?
I'm leading Urstel inside to basically, I guess, get him registered or whatever it is that they would do for the Gravediggers.
And what name are you registering him as?
He can decide. We just use the name for because guards and whatnot.
Right.
So he can decide what his name can be.
All right. So he gives them a false name and heads back. The man at the counter tries to throw back his hood, and he grabs it and pulls it over, and he goes with kind of a completely different voice. Quite amazing. He seems to have a pretty good handle on how to do it. He goes, I'm sorry, sir, but I recently got awful burned, and I'd really rather just do my job and not let anybody look at me, if you don't mind. And he shows just enough of his face to show that he's got a burn on part of it.
And I would explain them. It's the reason why I gave him one of my spare robes.
Oh, I see. My pardon, Shepherd. Well, normally we have to know, but I understand the poor citizen has had a bad run of luck, and we'll take care of him. As long as you're a hard worker, sir, we'll give you a place to sleep.
I can assure you he is certainly a hard worker.
I put a possible name that he could use in game chat.
Very good.
Not Discord chat, but actual Roll20.
That's fine. We'll stick it up later. And he says, Amaria. He says, all right, Amaria, come on with us. And he takes him to the back. All right, so you have dropped off Mr. Erstel, or Mr. Amaria Burkholder. What is next on your agenda? Now let's move to Epi and Relian. Cashin has gone to a grave somewhere in the thing. Is there anything special that he needs to RP about the grave?
He's just gonna take a bottle of wine, a cup, pours a cup out, and then sets it on top of the gravestone.
Very good. All right. So as the shepherd turns to leave, the man behind the counter says, "Imriel, pardon me, but how long will he be working here?"
As long as he feels like.
Very well. Is he getting the regular pay?
Indeed.
Thank you, Shepherd Morban. We will take care of him.
And I bow my head.
Very well. And so at that they turn and disappear into the back, probably getting him a shovel. And now, what are Relian and Epi doing?
Murder spree. No.
Fireball!
God, no.
We go looking for a spot to have a picnic, presumably.
You would go down by Agaron's statue, where you were instructed to go, and you kind of stand there with your picnic basket, probably looking around a little uncomfortably, and finally, from out of several of the bushes behind comes not quite what you were expecting. A rather dark-skinned dwarf, female dwarf with a hood on, approaches you and says, she looks up at you with a really canny look. You can tell that she really kind of has a handle on things. And she looks up at you and she says, "Oh, fancy meeting you here. You wouldn't be Mr. Relian and Mr. Epiphany, would you?"
No, we're Mr. Butterbeer and Wordsworth.
We do not hide ourselves. We are Epiphany.
"I hope you will join me over here at my picnic." And she motions, and there's a blanket laid out with a picnic basket and so forth, and she kind of motions to the area and goes over and sits down.
I hope you're hungry.
Epiphany sort of slithers over.
I brought peanut butter and pickle sandwiches.
And she takes a few bites, plays the part of just enjoying the picnic. She chats about the birds in the trees and a few things, the weather,
Birds in the trees. Is
various
that what they're calling you now?
um, the fine fall weather and what have you that's going on. And then finally, when she's convinced that nobody seems to be trying to listen in on the conversation, she says, "So, to business. As you probably know, I am the mistress of coin. It appears that I am in need of some aid."
What sort of assistance do you require?
Well, for one, I would like a place to sleep for perhaps a 10-day. She raises an eyebrow at you.
What else? What else do you require?
"Oh, do not fear. I will pay well for the room. I will even work for my keep if it need be. However,
How much
I
money
need..."
do we need to upgrade the place?
Two questions. One, I suppose you need a place to lay low because of the current troubles. And two, how high class would your accommodations need to be?
I don't need any kind of class. I simply need a bed and a door to shut between me and those who might come calling. I'd like my presence there to be either unknown or to be somebody else.
We are assuming that the conflict is not going well, then.
Davil is already in prison, and they're talking about charging him with the murders of Lord Growland, along with several other crimes that will take him to the headsman's axe.
And how have you avoided apprehension?
By leaving.
Epiphany looks at Aurelian. Are we to assume then that you are not affiliated anymore?
Oh, I am affiliated, but I am certainly not affiliated with the traitors who are causing this problem. I am affiliated with the serpent itself, but not the others. If you have not figured it out already, we have some kind of force that is attempting to take us over, and they are throwing all of the blame of their actions on us.
Yeah, they say the old wizard is back. How true that is, well, is anyone's guess.
She raises an eye.
It's true.
I would tend to suspect as much. He apparently wants his hand back in it. But for now, until things are cleared, until this mess gets straightened out, I need a place that I can be where they can't find me.
Would it be a 10-day or until the situation is straightened out? Those can be two very different time frames.
They can indeed. For now, I will say it will be at least a 10-day, and if at the end of that period of time I need to leave for your comfort, we will make other arrangements. But can you put me up for a 10-day?
Technically, we don't own the building.
We're silent partners.
May we have a moment to confer?
Of course. And she just kind of looks up around at the trees and the birds flying overhead and acts like she's just out looking at the beautiful scenery. It's all she's doing.
Epiphany establishes a connection with Aurelian.
Okay, so
Friend Rillian, this one. Have we met this one? Have we met this person before?
There was some mention, perhaps. Well, we'll have, when you were in the office or something, someone might say you'll have to pass that through the Mistress of Coin, but there's no further knowledge. That's why you were so surprised when you saw you weren't expecting a dwarf necessarily.
Could I do an insight check real quick to see if she really is who she claims to be?
Yep.
Blah, 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 blah. Dang.
As far as you can tell, she must be just who she is because she looks like she's fairly concerned with the current situation.
How many of us are left?
Are you asking Relian or her?
Her.
I don't know altogether of the minor members. Obviously the two of you, but I doubt there's more than 10 at most, and all of the controlling members have been pulled in.
So what is the plan?
At this point, I want to try and contact those who owe me some favors. I have quite a few, as you can imagine. Several people owe me money, and if they do not want those debts to come due immediately, they will have to assist. This is a misunderstanding, and this needs to be ended as soon as possible. We cannot allow Davil to face the headsmen for what others are doing.
In his mind, Relian is speaking to Epi and said, So, Epi, this might be a good chance to break clean, as it were. You were expressing some interest in fleeing the sinking ship. I mean,
This one has already fled the sinking ship.
not technically. She's still part of the organization. She's still loyal to it. But if we play our cards right, if we put her up and ask for as little in return as possible, what we could ask is, our debt wiped clean. We go our separate ways. Because I can tell you one thing, we don't want to be in the Zent's pocket forever.
And neither do we want to be involved on the losing side of a conflict.
So, do you think
The alternative is we put her up and then turn her over to the guards to earn favor with the city.
I think that might be a good backup plan. So, either way, so we're definitely going to say yes, we'll put her up. She can stay in my room, I can sleep downstairs, it's not a big issue. And in return, we ask her for our debt. Well, she's the Mistress of Coins, so she's the perfect person to ask. We ask, our debt wiped clean, we're out, we make a clean break.
We would concur, and if there are any issues or heat, then we turn her over.
Agreed.
All right. And what do you say to Istrid?
We will let friend Relian talk.
Dear madam, I assume you're aware of the conditions of our employment, as it were?
That you would run some errands for the coin you needed for your enterprise, yes?
Yes and no. Let's just say your organization got us out of a sticky wicket, and we're kind of indebted to you. If we do this, if we do such a magnanimous favor for such a talented and high-standing individual like yourself, we want that debt wiped clean. We want all favors yes, we want all favors forgiven and to be allowed a clean break if we so desire.
I cannot speak for Davil, but I can speak for what I know he probably would want, and that is to get out of that prison. So I will place my hand on that and tell him that you have agreed to assist me for this thing. As long as you do not in any way betray the organization or release its secrets, this can be held to. However, I can guarantee that if secrets are given to authorities, there will be those who will come after you. They would know that you are one of the few who still escapes the prison bars and would know who you are.
Madam, trust me, the last thing we want is to step on anybody's toes. And frankly, the way we see it, this is kind of a tit for tat. This is a perfect one thing for another situation. Davil got us out of prison. Now we get him out of prison. It's a perfect, all comes around equal measure kind of thing.
Indeed, and I suppose this is the best I can expect at this point in time. As long as I can journey back with you, I will agree to this.
And madam, we have a deal. And Relian sticks out his gloved hand.
She takes it and shakes it firmly. She pulls her hood further down around her face as she stands up and starts to pick up her blanket and picnic basket.
He begins to clean up as well, helping her. So you're going to love the Troll Stoke Tavern. We've done a lot of work into it. We got some great things on the menu. Oh, we're going to have so much fun.
Very
You are
good.
a sister now.
That's just creepy.
That's not right. So
What shall be the story, friend Relian? Because it is unusual to allow lady to sleep in your abode unless there is a reason for it.
Not sure how to take that, Epi. But,
This is
no.
what we understand about such things.
Epi, when I was off talking to Sally the baker girl, what did you think I was doing?
And Epiphany just goes into a very long scientific and completely
unconnected.
unromantic view.
Yeah.
Like, just, and in the most disgusting verbiage possible, everything that he thinks might have happened.
Okay, we are going to have some talks later, but, yeah. We'll just... I've got a great idea. Madame, have you ever been to Silvery Moon?
Yes, years ago.
Fantastic. Then you can pull off some basic questions. You're an old family acquaintance from Silvery Moon. We bumped into each other by chance. You're looking for a place to stay for a few nights. That'll do.
Very well. As long as I have a door between me and the outside, I am satisfied.
Oh, trust me. My room, top floor, very isolated, quick route to an escape hatch. It's great.
Excellent. It sounds like just what I need.
It allows for wide viewing of the surrounding area, correct?
Beautiful view.
Even better, I can keep an eye on the city and for guards.
There is one thing to be aware of, however.
Oh?
The location that we have available is currently... There is some contention between the owner and one contingent of the guards. However, those higher up in the city are somewhat on the owner's side. Just to be aware of, if there is a guard in front of the place, do not be alarmed. It is expected.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny old thing. The pencil pushers are kind of upset with our boss right now, but she's got some of the higher ups that, have her back. It's kind of I don't know, it's kind of a power measuring contest, to put it in friendly vernaculum.
She says, is there a rear entrance?
Yes.
Then,
Not a side entrance.
To the living area, correct, yes.
excellent. Then I will simply slip in that way and avoid the front entrance.
Fair enough.
She's now gathered up her stuff and she looks like, okay, I'm ready to go. So what is everybody going to do? It is now about probably 1 o'clock by that time all the lunch and everything and visiting the buildings and everything is finished.
By now, Cashin will have returned to where Corporal Banders has been loitering.
Rude, he's a nice one.
Hey, he's a city policeman. He can't loiter. They're guarding.
Dusty
I
Spoon?
know. Taking
I would
it so seriously.
say, would it be possible that during that time for Rel and Epi's conversation, Nokri could have found out where the procedure to have someone buried in the City of the Dead?
Yes, between asking the shepherd going to the Undertaker's Guild that's up here, or the Gravesdigger Guild who might know if he's already been interred, you would certainly, between the three of them, and Shepherd would have to pull rank or whatever for what he finds out. Does Shepherd, this can be your RP. Has Haldor been interred yet?
Last time I thought he was still under the city's hold in the morgue.
I would assume that they would have released him to the probably to the Undertakers.
And I just realized my mic was
Yeah, I can see you talking.
So yeah, I did say that I assume
Yeah, we'll
the
assume.
guard, but if he's been released, then yeah, he would probably Body would probably just be approaching, or not approaching now, but like would have arrived at least within the last day or so, probably.
Probably in the Undertaker's area in like some kind of cold storage or whatever.
We can make our way to the Undertaker's Guild Hall. We can find out what happened to Helder.
I just want to pay for a simple spot for him to have a final rest. He deserves at least that much for everything that he's been through.
Indeed.
And Shepherd would be able to tell you that those without much coin are interred in the very southern end of it, where there's much more. You can see some larger tombs, but by and large, it's simpler graves down there, just simple headstones and things, rather than
They
the
get chucked into the plague pit.
they're much smaller grave sites, not the big mausoleums and tombs that you see in the more northerly end.
Yeah, I would tell them that the northern end is essentially cut off unless for nobility being interred in their tombs.
Knocker will just chuckle a bit and turn around and goes like, wouldn't that just piss on everyone's grave? Inter someone who's technically not a noble in the noble area.
It would.
Color me spiteful, I suppose. This is not how I imagined my trip out this far it would be.
In any case, should we keep going? I believe you still have to visit the Temple of Inspired Hands, and then, well, we have a couple more hours until we need to leave the city.
Yes, well, Knocker will just straighten herself up a bit, rub at rub the bridge of her nose for a moment, just in quiet, just for like that brief moment of like regaining her composure and nod. Yes, I know we still have much to do, and we still have your task to handle. I have not forgotten. It's just things just seem to be piling up in such a way.
Not a problem. I understand that. Well, I've been here for most of it. I understand that things keep happening. But it has been going on about a 10-day now since I first received this mission. My superiors will start expecting results soon.
Scarecrows have eaten several people.
Probably. Hello, Bellion. Where did you come from? Did you enjoy your picnic?
I did! How about you?
Well, I must say that what was it called? The Temple of the Dead? Or
City of the Dead?
The Undertaker's Guild Hall.
The Undertaker's Guild Hall was much cleaner than I had anticipated. It was a very modern look. I was expecting more like skulls on the wall and like kind of French catacombs architecture, but no, that was all very marble pillars and cleanly swept, and I'm very impressed.
And now you know what. And now you know why I was picked to be the groundskeeper for the Troll Skull Alley.
I don't
Is
know.
that why?
I don't know about that, Shep. I've seen your room.
I glare at him.
I'm just gonna give a look to Relian, just kind of like, huh, so someone actually went in there. Okay, cool.
Note, I didn't say what was in the room. I just said I've seen your room, and it's a
No, but-
fucking
but
mess.
So
I
that's
know,
what I
and
mean.
I know, but that's why I'm glaring because like you said you would keep your word.
He didn't say anything though. He just
I
said
know.
he'd seen it. But
Okay.
Pigsty.
yeah. It's like it's like that little line at the bottom that says Nakri will remember this. And yeah. It's like the little details and just keep going.
All right, so you go into the Undertakers Guild. It only takes Imriel, as they called him, a few minutes to properly sign for seeing the body, and you are ushered into the back where cold spells are kept in all around a room. It's quite cold as you step in. There's ice on the walls. And you step in to find probably 11 or 12 bodies in this room in the back, most of which you don't recognize, some of which are actually those who died during the blast, some of the commoners, and Haldar is one of them.
Speaking of which, they called you Imrael, Shepherd. Is that your actual name?
Indeed, it is Emriel Morban, the Shepherd.
That's a nice name.
I was going to ask later, but how long was it going to take for you to actually come forward and actually give your name?
Until the
would take
DM gave you time.
It would take as long as it would be for you to actually ask me.
I mean, technically, most people when they first meet him after a sub introduction with what Lyric did, would actually go into the more formal one, which then you should have given your name at that point. But you know, semantics, and I'm not one for for most forms of formality.
Regardless,
You
which
have.
would you prefer to be referred to?
It doesn't matter.
Would you mind
Question.
if I call you? Go ahead.
In Lyric's introductions, I just want to know how much of, do they only know him as Lyric?
They only know him as Lyric.
Yeah. We never really got past like, this is my name.
You guys are
No,
not.
someone did ask. I think someone did ask for his name, and he just kept going with Lyric.
You guys are not good at asking names.
I think at that point we really
To be fair,
didn't really trust each other either.
to be fair, you've known me for a few weeks now, and you can see that I am not most people.
I mean, you're absolutely correct, and that's another thing I'm not going to exactly bring up in public. But I do have questions.
And you will have answers.
I do hope so. Over a cup of tea, maybe.
I'd prefer not.
No tea, really? Okay.
I don't like stimulants.
See, we're learning so much.
You are way too happy. But how much is it going to be to give him something suitable?
How much would it be for,
A,
just
what you might call a pauper's burial would be 10 gold, and then it would go up from there. Pauper's burial would be just almost burial in a plastic bag sort of thing. So,
10 gold for that?
Yeah, I know, right?
and
You're
then,
buying a plot.
yeah, you're buying a
it's
plot of land.
Essentially, yeah, just buying a plot of land. 10 gold for a pauper's burial, although I do believe it would be wiser to give him a little bit more dignity in his final rest.
Absolutely. I mean,
10
10 gold for a proper burial. That's not bad at all.
A pauper
Proper.
burial.
What are we popping?
poor people.
Now I see
are we
why.
popping poor people?
Now I see why Epiphany calls you closed mind.
What?
Sing.
In most traditions I've known, people who are of the sea should be given the proper burial at sea. The whole boat, arrow, fire, set it ablaze.
I would assume that the City of the Dead would at least do some kind of, funeral process for something like that. Like, obviously, we don't.
Brilliant.
They wouldn't pay for a plot of land, but they would do some kind of funeral rites for burial at sea.
It would actually cost.
Brilliant's hand started.
It would actually cost 10 gold to do the burial at sea because you're not buying a plot, but you're buying the time and the boat
You
and
buy
the.
timing, yeah.
Yeah.
It would be the same price as a pauper's burial if you do burial at sea.
Well,
Instead of a plot of land, you're just buying the service, essentially.
Well, if we're going to be doing that, then you might as well save the money. I could do that. I am Emerald Enclave, after all, which may not be super religious, but we do have jurisdiction over nature, and I could see that he gets a proper reception.
And-
The proper
Yes.
reception would be ritualistic, not just.
Yes, and Naka,
But-
I can't help but notice you also said blaze. I can help with that.
Oh boy.
But to be fair, since he was an employee under our establishment, I could probably pull some sway and just have it done by me. I will not accept a charge for the funeral rites.
Varus would be able to use a boat. The Emerald Enclave at Waterdeep calls itself the Blue and the Green because they not only oversee the land, any corruption might be taking over the land, they also oversee corruption that is happening under the water, and they oversee the kelp forest as well. So he would have access to a rowboat kind of thing.
We have twice the jurisdiction and half the manpower.
I don't
Typical
want-
job.
I don't want to make this a competition as to who gets to bury our dead companion, but
Simply an
I just-
option available to you.
I know, and thank you both. Really, granted, it's not making me feel any better in the long run, but it's something that needs to be done. He started his life out here in Waterdeep as a sailor and ended up becoming part of something else. I wouldn't even know what to even say or do in a situation like this.
Which is why you would have someone for a funeral rite. We know what to say and do. Situation that.
You will need to decide what you're going to do with him because we are coming up on the 2-hour mark.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So
Uh,
decide if you want to get anything done but City of the Dead. You're going to have to decide this.
Is it possible to leave him here for a little longer until the decision's made?
We will keep bodies for up to a 10-day, ma'am, before we bury them in a communal grave. So it's only been like 2
Yeah.
days since he died. So
Yeah, so we'll wait till the 10-day and come to a final decision.
very well, ma'am.
Thank you.
Alternatively, as we're leaving, I could make him a grave myself to give him a proper burial. Again, more options available to you. It wouldn't take me but 30 seconds to do so.
Well, if you do your own digging, that will reduce the cost since we will not have to hire from the Gravesdigger Guild, and it would reduce the cost down to only 6 gold.
It's not the money I'm worried about. It's merely not knowing what is the correct thing to do.
So this, sorry, that was, I was trying to say that to the rest of the group as we were leaving.
Then the shepherd would say that, but still would say he would still do the job at a reduced cost anyway.
In any case, let us go. I believe our next stop is the House of Inspired Hands.
For some, yes. I do think some of us need to wait for the captain.
Well, you would be expected to go back up to the gate to pick up Corporal Bander.
Oh yeah.
Where's Cassian, by the way?
hopefully back where we said we were going to meet him. Otherwise, this will become very fun, interesting hunt.
All right, so move your tokens up there. We'll move on into the city. You'll regroup at Corporal Bander's place.
Looking for. Sorry, didn't mean to ping. Do-do-do-do-do.
As Relian and Epiphany take off, a dwarf woman falls in behind you and gives you what looks like she's following you for some reason.
Found a stowaway.
Hello. Who might you be?
Run and I'm trying to remember, like, were we just going to play the sentences?
Do it.
You know what? Fuck it. Oops, sorry, language. But you know what? In for a penny and for a pound. Izzy, is that you?
She looks up at you and says, "Ah, it must be Cousin Relian." And of course, she's obviously a dwarf, so the fact that she's calling you cousin would probably raise a few eyebrows.
I haven't seen you in years.
You know how
I'm,
extended family is.
I'm just gonna do this. Oh, yep, that's not gonna work.
Oh, thank the Lord and Lou.
I'm sorry. That's hilarious.
Do
Ah.
that once.
She says,
This is fantastic.
as the group of you look at,
It's not on something important.
as the group of you kind of look at her like, "You're awfully short to be his cousin." She goes, "Oh, don't worry, dearie, I'm just a cousin by marriage."
I told you, extended family.
I'm more confused by the fact that she has a face and he doesn't.
Does she? She has a
Yeah.
too.
She has a face. You can clearly see the lower half of her face, but she does have like a kind of an overhanging hood that is keeping her. Yeah, is keeping her.
Cowl.
Yeah,
Which is more face than what Herelian does.
It's
She's-
like the Assassin's Creed game where it's most of it is hidden with the like.
yeah. Or I was going to say Tool Time with Mr. Wilson, who always manages to hide half of his face.
Oh, that was some great skit.
Everyone, please let me introduce you to Izzy Hornbell. Oh, she's as she said, she's a cousin of mine by marriage. It's a strange marriage. Please don't ask about it.
I will ask about it.
I'm pretty sure it's one hell of an after party.
Okay,
Can
let's
I
look.
roll
I come.
insight not on the family relation, but on whether or not that is an actual name? I don't care whether or not they're actually related. That sounds like a fake name.
Izzy Hornbell? I mean,
In this game,
well, not really.
I mean, one of the
That's true,
one
never
of the
mind.
one of the guys who's giving you a bad time is Barnabas Blastwind.
Oh, is he? I didn't know
Which basically
his last
means,
name.
which
Okay,
basically
never mind then.
means his. So basically, his last name is Fart.
He likes Taco Bell.
Ugh. But if you must know, I come from a family of spellcasters, and the marriage was to a non-spellcaster, which
Oh.
was kind of a no-no at the time. So
And now it makes sense.
You have
I
a
say
family?
sarcastically.
sorry, what?
He asked, "Do you really have a family?"
Do you think I just sprouted from the ether?
Somewhat.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, actually, you're half right, but that's a tale for another time.
I'm assuming you have like an extended, partially adopted family that or people you just call friends that are so close that they are.
Or
Yeah.
you kidnap them.
I look
Okay.
at Epiphany.
Okay, you know what? As we're going out of the city, we are going to have a long talk about what Genasi and Canson actually are, because you all are very uninformed, and I just find it offensive.
I'm a
Yeah,
Genasi, but I don't know what a Canson is.
Oh, Sealy or I Sealy?
I see.
Okay. I'll just flat out say it. Here's some background on your old pal Relian. A Kansen is a very rare type of genasi. However, instead of being blessed by one of the 4 elemental planes, Kansen are blessed by limbo, the realm of chaos, change, entropy, all that good stuff. It leaves its mark on us both mentally and physically. I was born to regular parents, a half-elf and a human, just the same as anybody else. However, I came out a bit different because Limbo took an interest in me.
You came out the way that you were meant to.
I'm just going to reach over and pinching the corners of Relian's hood like a set of cheeks. She's just going to pinch pinch where the cheeks would be at the hood, and just kind of give him a little ruffle. And in Draconic, turn around and say something again to, "Aren't you just adorable? I'm probably going to kill you later for something that you're hiding for me, but that's okay."
And Cashin would understand that.
In Draconic?
Brilliant would have understood that too.
Hold on.
Varys does not understand that.
Relian
Epiphany would not understand.
Relian in Draconic says, death comes for us all.
And she'll continue that with, and aren't you just delighting me with every time you open your mouth? Let's be gone, please.
So
I'm wondering if Epiphany, when Relian talks about coming out a little bit different because Limbo took an interest, if Epiphany thinks that everybody comes out of a test tube. So I'm considering that.
Yeah, Epiphany's like listening. She's like,
So, Miss Izzy, was it? Is there something we can do for you?
I would like to possibly stay with Cousin Relian for a few days, if you don't mind.
I
Look at
don't see how
Knockery.
that's a problem. She can have mine.
And you'll be staying where exactly?
Well, he has said I can have his room. I'll be glad to assist. I can do any work you have around the inn. I can help clean or serve patrons or drinks.
I'm guessing by that side, darling, and no offense, that you're not the type to actually deal with that kind of dealings. We have enough servers already, but we'll are short to persons, so there's a possibility we could find something.
She could help me with the latrine pit.
She kind of looks at you with a long-suffering look and says, "Yes, I would be glad to work for my keep. In fact, I would be even glad to pay for my quarters."
Oh, Nokri, it could be the first room rent of the tavern.
We
I suppose it would be an
haven't
inn now.
We need to refurbish that entire section, dear. I've got to figure out what we're doing. By the way, how much did I actually get for the money back from the city? So I don't remember we got a price.
Gillester said that the announcement, I believe, was 100 gold in reparations, as I recall.
100 gold. Okay. There's certain renovations that we still need to do and certain bills that need to be paid, but we'll figure something out. I have the other ladies looking into ways of getting materials to start doing potentially refurbishing ourselves if needed.
Not to sound racist, but you could, if you could be any assistance at brewing, I would love to have some help with the raspberry mead I've been working on.
That's racist.
I just said it was not to sound racist. I just need help in general. It just so happens that she's a dwarf.
She raises her
Racist.
hand and she says, "Well, I'm not the best brewer, but I am an alchemist. I should be able to assist in some way."
An alchemist? Surely that could be useful
Yeah.
in some capacity.
Yeah, you're pretty good alchemists and herbalists. It's kind of skirts the edge of magic, which is the only reason my family actually okayed the marriage.
The essential balance of ingredients. Sounds like cooking to me.
Brewery isn't too different from alchemy. It's come, I'll show you. I will try to take Izzy's arm.
She will kind of blink at you a few times, but finally will go along with it and trot along with you.
Welcome, cousin Istrid.
Well, at least she's not bunking with him.
We
Not
still
bunking
have
with
an
Relian
official-
either.
We still need to have an official place to sleep.
You have a room.
I thought you picked one, darling.
We
When
did.
can we get... But
All right, so Corporal Banders is trotting along behind you, kind of. Here I go back to the inn again. I got to stay with him. He's not paying a whole lot of attention to you. He's really looking pretty bored because he's pretty well figured out that you aren't really doing anything underhanded. But he's been ordered to follow along like a good sheepdog.
Does he notice that our previous +1 has been replaced with a much shorter +1?
Yeah, he probably notices, but he also noticed that you explained that you were taking the other one back to work to his job at Gravediggers, and he's been standing here while you introduced Cousin Izzy, so he's just like, okay.
Okay. So, Istrid, where are you from? Do you mind if I call you Izzy, or would you prefer me to call you Istrid?
I would prefer you called me Izzy, please.
Izzy, where are you from?
Originally or recently?
I suppose a better question would be to ask, what brings you to Waterdeep from where you were?
Money matters.
Personal?
Say that again.
Personal?
Quite.
I think we need to ask all those
Quite
Apologies.
personal. Quite personal.
My apologies. Don't mean to pry.
You are, dear. And she reaches up and pats your face. You are, dearie. Let's go to the Troll Skull.
Don't mind him. He's hopelessly naive to the ways of the world.
I'm not naive. I just try to be nice.
You're a bit overly nice, and it's almost kind of creepy.
Is it?
Just a
Yes.
tiny bit, but it's actually kind of charming to you.
Here, go kick Cash in the shin now.
I would prefer not to.
See? Too nice.
Speaking of which, Cashin, did you get everything you need to accomplish back there?
Got some sage root, but yeah. And after that, me and Anders here were just talking.
Still gonna need more cowbell.
Well, as I assume you have started walking along the way back to the Troll Skull as all this is going on.
Combos happening. Yeah.
Wait, are we heading back to the Troll Skull, or are we going to head off?
Drop her. Figure you drop her off.
Walking.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, back to the Troll Skull then.
Then probably on the way, Knocker is explaining the clock idea of what she's thinking about with collaborating between the different shops on the street to get it done, and the temple. And she's kind of like in a weird way, for one of the first few times you've actually seen it, she's actually sounding excitable about an idea and a prospect of putting something that shows the unity of the street, of the people, of the shops and the vendors of the street area, with something unique for that area. Like, if it makes sense, like how I'm explaining it.
Yeah, that you want to
what
put
I
a
would
marker
do-
in the street that will apparently do have some kind of clockworks in it.
Yeah, it's just like a kind of like an old like a street clock, like just for something
A
can.
sundial.
No, I'm like actually thinking like mechanical clock face, type,
Mm.
like a pocket watch, only bigger, and something on the street that everyone could see, type deal.
Like a road watch.
Mm-hmm.
Will it chime the hours or will it just tick tock?
Just TikTok, because chiming the hours would probably piss a lot of people off. It's just supposed to be like you look up, you see the time, and it's just a place to go. It's like in memory of those who died on the evening of blah 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 blah. May they never be forgotten. Memorial.
Very good. You drop her off at the inn, and does the whole group of you head out for the temple?
I do take a moment to prepare my room. I'm taking down the paper, putting it in my pack, and then I'm making sure that the door is locked. I do not trust this woman.
Okay. She follows Relian up to his room. She has as turns out, as she opens the picnic basket, she actually has a spare robe and a few meager belongings in the basket, and she kind of sets those on the thing, but she has very few belongings that she's taken with her. So she is traveling light. So she thanks you for being able to be in the room. She opens one of the shutters just a bit to look out at the street that's to the north of the inn, just keeping a bit of an eye on what's going on. She had looked around the corner of the building and noticed the guards and things and had hurried up the stairs very quickly when the others would have noticed that she seemed very much to want to avoid the front of the building and had stayed to the back. And for the rest of you, as you travel on, you will go to the House of Inspired Hands. And what exactly is Nakri going to... After... It doesn't take too long for you to find Valletta again. You ask after her, having met with her before and so forth. And an acolyte or somebody goes off to get her, and you are able to find her. So exactly what are you going to ask?
In the twofold, it's part of asking about potentially doing the clock face thing. That's the cover. That's the cover question. The true question is trying to find out more details about Nim's creation in terms of like any specific markings that would make it stand out from anything else. Blah blah blah, and then politely ask her if the Growlhunds have been here.
The Growlhounds? No, they wouldn't have any connection at all with us here.
How certain are you of that information? Because we found two markers in the city, and one of them is with the Growlhunds.
I saw it flee the building through the rooftops.
I wouldn't have any idea what you're talking about. I would assume that that's the rogue one that Nim created, but I wouldn't know. Where did you find the other one?
The other one was near the docks. This one was at the Growlhunds. We wanted to be certain that if we did see it, we found the correct one, and if there's not two rogue Nimblebrights in the city.
I will call Nim down and see what he can tell you, but I will tell you that the mage that gave Nim to us, he came in by ship.
So the one that was at the docks might have been another one like Nim?
It is conceivable. I didn't realize that he had more, but it is entirely possible.
Is he still in town?
I don't really know.
Well, then that would add another interesting key to this whole puzzle.
You say by ship. Do you remember when he came by ship?
About a week ago.
Do I know of any ships coming in about a week ago?
This was the time that the Maiden's Fair docked.
I look at Nakri, the carnival.
Oh boy, that's just wonderful. I wonder why they pawned off such a creation to this group and keep more. Well then, I guess we'll just have to see what we can do there without becoming too involved with that group.
Hello?
You're
Hey,
back.
Hello.
You're back.
That definitely is troubling, though. I really didn't want to have to get involved with them. Damn it.
The more you
Well,
try to get away, the closer he brings you in.
yeah, hopefully not with my fist to his face.
With that, I will assume that you will have the conversation with her about the clockwork street marker, which she will look very interested in. She will brighten up very much when you talk about that. Oh, that sounds like a perfect project for some of the acolytes to undertake. Not too difficult, but something that they can feel proud of. And she sends an acolyte off to get Nim. And he comes in while you are talking about this clockwork street clock. And he just kind of comes shuffling in like, are you mad at me again or something? Because it seems like lately every time he's been called by Valletta, it's because he's gotten in trouble for something. And he kind of comes in, looks around. He lifts his hand and waves.
I'll look at him and just show that she's not mad at all. She just needs help, kind of thing. Give that impression of no one's mad at you. We're just trying to help still.
She will turn and she will ask him about the appearance of his creation that he made, and he will make his hand signals that he does in the air, and she cocks her head, watches for a while, and finally she turns and says, he says that he made his friend out of blue metal and that he should be quite easy to spot.
Do I remember the number right being blue?
You do indeed.
I looked at Nakri. That is the correct one.
Well, then we now know where it is, and we now know what the purpose has been used for.
It is also possible that the second rogue Nimblewright could also be blue, but I do find that very doubtful.
No, it's looking less and less.
Nim starts to frantically make signs in the air, and he taps her on the shoulder, so she turns around and looks at him. She watches his hand signals for a moment, and she turns back to you. He's asking, you actually saw his friend?
Indeed I did, Nim.
He looks very happy.
He was running across rooftops. Have you made him to be nimble enough to go that far distance that high up?
She answers actually for you. Oh, quite. Nim himself is very nimble.
I just keep a straight face. I don't see the joke.
And apparently all the Nimblewrights have remarkable dexterity and agility.
So it's something not completely uncommon for their kind.
Certainly not for the ones that the mage brought in, no.
What about the ones that the mage brought in?
Nim, being one of the ones that he brought, Nim here himself is quite agile. That's why, and she frowns at Nim, he wound up on the top of the sphere.
That is correct. We did see him up at the top of that statue.
We will still do everything we can to bring them home, Nim, but they've gotten involved with some very bad people.
And
Tell
he
me then.
does a kind of a mime of, disappointment kind of thing.
We'll
Tell
still
me,
try.
Nim. Tell me, Nim, is there a way for us to identify ourselves to it as friends? So that it does not try to run away from us when we try to make sure that it doesn't
He
end up
shakes
being
his
scrap.
he shakes his head sadly and then tips his head and makes signs to Valletta, and she says, maybe if you tell it that Nim is worried about him, that's all he can guess.
Are these? Is it? So, I'm sorry. Is it only a couple of us in this room with Nim and Valletta, or is it all of us?
I think it's just a couple of us.
Just the
Okay, never mind.
group of you and Nim and Valletta is basically what I'm figuring. I just assumed you all went to the temple, just what I'm doing.
Okay.
I know at least Epiphany is out because he does not like temple.
Okay. I will.
Epiphany is like outside, like I don't know, chasing beetles or something.
Okay.
So Varys would ask, you've said that Nimblewrights are particularly fast and agile. Are they particularly strong?
Well, it depends on whether you're talking about the ones we have actually constructed here at the temple or Nim and his type. We have been studying Nim trying to improve our own works.
I'm more concerned with this rogue Nimblewright. Was it designed to be physically powerful, or was it more quick?
She looks at Nim and he makes some signs in the air. She turns back and says, he says he made it just like himself, except it's blue.
Except what?
It's blue.
So,
Here's a crazy question. Nim, did your friend, before he skedaddled, did he express any interests? Was he fascinated by anything? Did he like to do anything? Like reading, or did he like music, or anything else?
He tips his head again, thinking, and then he makes some signs, and Valletta translates and says, he was always asking about what the world outside was like.
So he was just an inquisitive type.
He fell in with the wrong crowd. We did hear that they procured it under interesting circumstances.
I was just asking because I was thinking if he has any interests, it might be an interesting lead on where to look. Like, if he likes music, maybe we could look at an outdoor festival or something.
You see Nim make symbols like he's tapping things along in a row, and Valletta translates, he likes everything. He just has a curiosity.
Like a newborn baby into the world.
So Nim said that he made this other Nimblewright in imitation of himself. Does Nim look particularly physically capable, or does he look more slender and quick?
You have seen only one or two of the temple Nimblewrights around, and they are very clunky robots. They're not even dressed in clothes. They're just mechanical things that walk along very robotish, and they can do simple tasks. They are lent out or even sold to nobles for very simple servant jobs, fetching and bringing things. As long as they know a very set routine, they can do these things. Whereas Nim himself is very intelligent, very quick, moves almost like a human. If you didn't see his metal skin and so forth, and occasionally a kind of stiff way that he moves his head, he moves more like a mime would move in a performance. Not completely human, but not completely unhuman. And he is very obviously more dexterous than what you've seen of the common Nimblewrights.
Okay, thank you.
the mere fact that he was able to create something in his own image, she has already said to the group, is astounding. That shows that he is something
Very
beyond. And
advanced.
she is trying to actually get the temple to admit him as an acolyte. All right, I am going to call it at that point. I will say that you have gotten her agreement that she will give a task to the acolytes to make your street clock, and you have gotten the information from Nim that you needed. Any other questions you need to ask before we say goodnight?
Nope. I think that pretty much sums it up, and that's already helping to piece together some different threads.
Very good. Nim, she will tell Nim to go back up to his room, and she will bid you goodbye and turn back to the acolytes. She will gather some in, and the last thing you hear as she wanders off, she will be excitedly telling one of her students about the project that you have brought. Corporal Bander will have been waiting outside, possibly within earshot, kind of where he can keep an eye on Epiphany, but slightly in earshot to make sure you aren't doing some conspiracy thing that he gets asked about, and he's satisfied that you are just doing this thing for the street, pretty much, but he might have overheard a little bit about this other Nimblewright. But that is not uncommon knowledge that there was a Nimblewright involved in the thing, and he's not really a spy in the true sense of the word.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think we made it uncommon that we were looking for what potentially threw this thing down into the yard.
And I will just say you have made it knowledge that there is a Nimblewright that seems to be on the loose. You are looking for information about Nimblewrights at the temple. You spoke with another Nimblewright, but you could have easily been very quiet in your conversation so that you didn't release that he had created the Nimblewright.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention anything about his I don't even think we mentioned the Nimblewright in the temple. We were just getting information about it.
Right. He had, but she interpreted things like he says he made it to look like him and things. So it might have been overheard. But I will say that the conversation at that point was quiet. So okay. So my final word for the evening is any guys. Well, I shouldn't say guys. Anybody out there with significant others who wants to impress their significant other, don't forget that Friday is Valentine's Day. Having lived with a significant other who never remembered it, ever, I will tell you that I, years ago, gave up, and I simply made the reservations, got all the preparations done, and took him out to dinner. So make sure you're the one who's doing the taking out to dinner.
Did you get him flowers and chocolates too?
Flowers, yes. Chocolates, no.
But she's not bitter.
Actually, I gave up being bitter a long time ago about that. All right, he's not going to remember, so I might as well just make it, and we'll go out and have a wonderful evening. That's what we're going to do on Friday. So Friday night, we'll be out celebrating.
Hey, there we go. There's an idea. Couples Brawl Overwatch. Let's go.
And now, does Relian have any final words for us?
Bye, everybody. Remember, if you need any proof at all that life is insane, remember that the following is an actual, factual, informative, and grammatically correct sentence. Buffalo, 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 buffalo.
And with the 10 buffalo ending, we will say good night from Crone's Crucible. Good night, all. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.
Good night.
Technically.